The psychedelic revolution is here. If you want to integrate your visionary experiences into your purpose, get clear on your entrepreneurial path, and help people while you do what you love, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to The Psychedelic Entrepreneur, Medicine for These Times. I'm your host, Beth Weinstein. I'm a spiritual business coach, 3-time entrepreneur, and a lifelong student of psychedelics and sacred plant medicines. You carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times. This podcast will help you to share your medicine so you can create transformation in the world. Listen in on conversations with psychedelic leaders, changemakers, and conscious entrepreneurs who are living proof that a better world is possible when you follow your heart and live in alignment with your soul. You are listening to an encore episode that was part of my Psychedelic Sacred Medicines Purpose and Business free online summit. This was one of my favorite interviews, so I wanted to share it with you here on my podcast. I hope you love it as much as I do. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Psychedelic Sacred Medicines Purpose and Business. I'm your host, Beth Weinstein. I'm a spiritual business coach helping you align with your purpose and share your unique medicine so that you can do what you love and create freedom and abundance in your work. And today I'm so excited to have my friend Marie Mbouni. Always pronounce it a little wrong. Marie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Such an honor to have you again. And Marie's joining us from California, my home state. If you don't know Marie, you can click on her links right here on the webpage, follow her on Instagram, check out her free gift. But as a soul shaman, energy healer, and creativity coach, Marie is a leading expert on helping high-performing business owners, leaders, and changemakers get reconnected and centered to achieve holistic success. She's a best-selling author, healer, and speaker with a background in Western medicine as a doctor and Eastern medicine as a lifelong intuitive and channel. Her Eastern roots include robust work as a modern mystic and multidimensional spiritual guide. Her insights have been featured in major media like NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox. A philanthropist, Marie is passionate about giving back and helping the world evolve into a better place. Marie, I always love hearing your story, but for people who have not met you before, can you tell us how you ended up on this path? You know, you're like a mystic, a healer, a channel, a guide, high performer, shaman, priestess, all of the above. But what's your journey? How did you get here to where you're at today?
So it's there is a reason why this is called a journey, because in fact, it is a journey. I was born with all these gifts. Like when I was a child, I could read people's thoughts. I could see things other people didn't see. And I would always be told to shush, or, you know, the elders are speaking, don't say anything. And so the first thing I did was to make it mean it was bad. And then when I went to school, I realized that my friends, you know, were not like me. And that created this sense of differentness, if there's such a word, and separation. And so I hid and pushed them down. And because I had this belief that in order to belong, I had to be exactly like everybody else, which, you know, of course, is not true. And so I went on, you know, I already knew since I was 6 years old that I was going to be a doctor. And I went through that path, went to medical school in Cameroon, Africa, came to America to do my residency. And during my residency, I started realizing that I could really connect with patients, you know, psychiatry patients who would maybe having a psychotic episode. I could just talk to them and they would calm down. without medication or anything. It was uncanny. And that's what started to help me remember these, I call them superpowers. Everybody has them, by the way. You just have to discover yours. But I was still hiding until 2012, when I couldn't not anymore. That's how I'm going to put it. I was feeling this spiritual pressure to something. I didn't really know what it was, but it was like something has to change. And I wasn't even aware of the 2012, the Mayan calendar, because I was full on scientist, not spiritual. Like I had totally abandoned that world because I thought that, you know, people would not respect me as a doctor, or they would think I'm weird or cuckoo or woo. And so 2012 comes and, you know, my power just come out. Like I remember the first time I experienced it publicly. I was at a fest by Mind Valley, and it was a party, and I was walking. It was a pool party, and I was walking, and all of a sudden there was a couple coming in front of me, and then the ancestors of this guy just come through me, and they're like, you need to tell him and that, you know, and I'm just like, oh, you know, so, and they wouldn't stop. And so I go to the person, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't know you, but I have a message for you. Like I couldn't stop it. And because it was AFS, it's kind of spiritual, conscious type of, he didn't totally, think I was crazy. So he stopped and started listening. And I was telling him things that only somebody from his family would know. And he started crying. And so it was like a big thing. But what it did, it was like, I realized that I had to get a handle on it. I had to really stop and make a choice, because if not, it would just, things would come out in inappropriate situations, or I didn't really know what was going on. I couldn't control it. And that's when I decided to start my spiritual studies. I didn't really call them that way. It was just like, I need to do something. And that's when I started noticing how I was guided every step of the way in my healing journey, my awakening journey, until, I felt confident enough. It was like I rediscovered and reclaimed my whole self, who I am. And so I came out in my hospital as spiritual. I was bringing crystals in my operating room. And then I noticed that actually people knew that there was something about me. They would call me, medical Xanax behind my back. Like they knew something was going on, even if I was trying to hide. And what I want to tell people here is, sometimes we hide who we are or we push down, but everybody can tell. They might not know specifically what it is. But anyway, long story short, I came out as spiritual in my hospital. And then after maybe a year after coming out as spiritual, it was like I started getting guidance that I'm not here to only take care and support one person at a time. I'm here for something else. And it was really scary because it was asking me to take a leap of faith, to go outside the comfort zone. And I really walked the path of fear, the path of uncertainty, the unknown. it was like, but still, there was no turning back.
Mm-hmm. I love this story. It actually reminds me so much of mine, where I had like the biggest growth in a spiritual awakening right before 2012. It was like the end of 2011, where there was just all these things that started moving, where it became a breaking point. Like you said, it's like this, like something in you is about to come out and you just can't take it anymore. And that's exactly what happened with me. Where I was like, I can't live life like this lie anymore. There's something in here that wants to come out. I don't know what it is. I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was a different path. And so this path of curiosity and exploration, and I really love, and I want people to understand what you said about, I just started studies, like you didn't know that you were going to be, who you are today. You just got curious and followed the golden nuggets. And I know it's totally scary, especially when you come from a very traditional background and a traditional, career, and all of a sudden now your truth and your authenticity is coming out, and then you start to make these changes. Now let's talk about this a little bit. I always call these initiations because they can feel really tough and scary. It's a lot of my clients go through this because they're transitioning from safe careers to entrepreneurship, and it's a scary initiation. It really, I always say, it reminds me of an ayahuasca journey in itself, right? It's like, it's just a longer one. And I know you've worked with medicine as well. I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit about that fear that people go through these initiations, and what they all mean, and how they are actually okay, if you believe they are. But yeah, tell us a little bit about what you went through, and what you see out there with others that you work with.
So it's how do I put this? It's, at first, it seems like an inner war, because, we are all taught ways of success. I use quotes here. We are taught ways of success. Your parents, society, the media, whatever, drives you. And then you have this other part of you that's like, in order for you to really live authentically, this is how you need to be. This is what you need to do. And so at first, it's this inner war. And usually what happens is that when you take the time to listen and to go within, you start to realize that there is no way you cannot live that life as the authentic you. And what I wanted to say here, and I'm happy that we're talking about this, is that, the fear didn't go away. The fear is there to guide you. The fear is there to keep you on your toes, on the path. Because the fear goes both ways. Like, if you're not doing, like following your path, there is just this feeling of like, you just don't feel good. You lost. And then the other type of fear is the challenges that come with it. And this is where, you've read the books about the hero's journey, the steps, like all that. An initiation is like going on a pilgrimage on a hero's or heroine's journey, becoming your own hero so that you can carve a path for others to follow you. That's why we go through these initiations. Mm-hmm. And what you learn during the fear is actually what you're going to teach people. Meaning, how did you conquer your fear? How did you walk with your fear? I remember when I first decided, I kind of had to, that this is what I'm going to do full time. I mean, the first thing was the financial fear. It's like, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to, I remember, like month 2 was really, really tough. And I wanted to purchase a few things and hire a coach. And I remember going to a store. It was a Trader Joe's. And I was standing there and thinking, what can I buy here that is not organic and it's going to be okay? Like, that's where I was. I didn't stop. But it was scary. It was like, okay, here I am, like trying to figure out ways. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to tell everyone is that fear teaches you. Fear really wakes up the hero or the heroine within. And I remember after that trip to the store where I was like, what's not organic and it's going to be okay? And I was like, avocados, bananas. I went home and I went on a meditation to have a conversation with Source, with the divine. I was like, okay, I don't know how it is there, but I live on earth. And here we have to pay for stuff. I literally said that. Mm-hmm. So, and then, and what happened is like things opened up. I had 3 clients out of nowhere. All the, the bills were paid, but I still went through the fear. And it's when it was like, I'm not afraid. However, I want a way to handle this, to take care of this and not buckle. So these fears, challenges are like a mirror that also shows you, do you believe in yourself? Do you really trust that this is why you are here?
So well said. The trust alone is a really tough journey. The human mind, we don't naturally trust. I mean, we do when we're born, and then it all goes downhill from there, it seems. But I'm so glad you shared this, because this is such a deep path. I mean, I don't know any entrepreneur who hasn't gone through this up and down and questioning everything. And, oh my God, should I just quit and go back to my old job? And I do believe that's actually part of it, right? It's like, you're here to learn these lessons so that you can show up and serve and learn from them. I mean, this is the whole journey of life, is this evolution. Now let's talk about how, I'm curious, I know you've worked with plant medicine in the past, and you're studied in so many different modalities. And I'm curious how, or if you think that these medicines are growing in popularity right now, mm-hmm. as we all see. The world is also changing very fast. And this fear, this idea of fear and trust that you just brought up is so in our forefront, in our faces every day, because there is a lot of fear, regardless of what you believe. I mean, I get it. It's like, there's days where I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing living here at this time? This is crazy. But how do you believe that these medicines, growing in popularity, are here for us in these times that we're in?
I love the fact that you said are here for us, because these medicine are actually coming out to help us. They're more discoverable. They're more accessible. And I just want to tune in for a moment. These medicines are so benevolent. I actually get tears in my eyes because they love us so much. They really are here to teach us, to show us how to live as humans in collaboration, co-elevation with each other and the world around us. And it's not always easy to understand the teachings because, you know, we are a society that is used to instant answers, instant fix, the magic pill instead of the red pill. And so the teachings of the soul, of spirit, are through symbols, metaphors, parables. They're not literal. And it takes time and space to integrate, to embody these teachings. And sometimes what happens is people have visionary experiences and they take things literally. You know, oh, I'm God now. It's like, well, you are divine. And so it is important to have guidance, integration, reflection, exploration, curiosity when we interact with these plants, and really connect with them, like not take them as a crutch or abuse them. And abuse doesn't mean, you know, taking them every day necessarily, but like, how do you show up in front of these plants? What are your thoughts, your intentions? How do you interact with them? Do you even connect with them? Or it's like, oh, I got a shot of, you know, this. And so, okay, I have my notebook with all the question. Number one, check, check, check. Like, yes, that's okay too. However, how are you showing up? And how do you show up when you receive an answer that you do not expect or you don't want to see or hear? Right? And so I'm really grateful that we have the opportunity to be able to be taught by these plants. Many people don't have that opportunity. How blessed are we?
So well said. And yeah, this is a lot of this conversation is that it's not about the quick fix. It's about the every moment of life and your intention behind everything, and how we bring it back to this 3D and this planet and the collective and the change that we want to see and the change in your life. And you know, the true integration of this path. It's not so much about just believing everything. If anything, I always tend to be very skeptical. I I constantly say the plants, you know, the plants told me to do this series for years. And I was like, no, that's crazy. Like it can't be real, until I was like, well, wait a second. What if I got curious around this? Like, what if that was real? What if it was possible? And that's where I always encourage people to just get curious. You know, it's like, we have time, you know, there's no need to go make like the crazy changes overnight, but I mean, unless you're really inspired to, but Marie, let's talk a little bit about the work that you do with clients. Like I know you help a lot of entrepreneurs and high-powered executives, and you do teach from this path of the heart, and you know, you're very much on a very similar path as me in the believer of, you know, we are the divine. There is a purpose that comes through us. You know, there's this something beyond the, whatever you want to call it, that's living within us. And we are essentially just channels here. And I'm curious, you know, can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you do, and then who, like, why do people see you? Like, what's going on in the collective right now that people are coming to you for help with?
So what I've noticed is that people are actually more and more aware that there is a world within them that they want to see, that they are curious about. There is a world beyond this physical body. So it feels like there is a collective awakening that I don't really want to name, but it is happening. And when these people come to me, they say things like, I'm really curious about spirituality. What's that all about? Or they, like, the only thing that works in their lives is their job or the money and nothing else. So, like, they want to love themselves more. They want to connect because they feel disconnected to themselves, to any higher power. They're just on a track, to make money, which is not bad in itself, unless that's the only thing. And, the other thing that I see is that although they don't call it that, they are really ready to work with all parts of themselves, their shadow part, their, inner child part, their mystic part. And what usually makes it, I think the reason they trust me at first is that I'm a medical doctor. So they like, although I'm woo, it's like, okay, it's okay to go to her. Then I'm not going to be seen as XYZ because, everybody is kind of sensitive to judgment or labeling or things that happen. And that's usually, like, there's this curiosity, this awakening that's happening. And some people actually tell me, I want to become spiritual, but I really don't know that stuff. It's not tangible. I can't touch it. What does it mean? So it really brings hope to my heart, because although they don't really express specifically what they want, they know that there's something that wants to emerge within them. And that's exciting. That's exciting because these are the way showers. These are the change makers, the creatives that will shape our world, and they can spread that like ripples.
Yeah. That gives me hope as well, because everybody starts somewhere. And I think, more and more people are getting curious and awakening. I mean, this is what's happening with this medicine, the media is starting to talk about it, and people are, like, oh, well, hey, if that can help me with this and nothing else has, or I'm just curious to get to know, like, who am I really? Right. Especially in this world that we're in, with things changing so fast and, people feeling a lot of uncertainty. I think there's been a lot of questions of like, okay, what am I doing? What is this all about? Why am I here right now? And, what is my purpose? And there's different meanings to purpose. I don't think it's necessarily like what you do for a living, but really, like, why are you incarnated here on the earth at this time of great change? So let's talk a little bit about the heart path. I know you also teach about this, and you have this tool or something you talk about called the 5 wounds of the heart. Let's hear about this, because I am constantly telling people it's all about being in the heart. It's the heart path. That's where the divine abundance is. That's where the the divine happiness and the divine purpose is all located just right here. And it's so simple.
Yes.
Of
Yes.
course, hard and simple. But yeah, what are the 5 wounds all about?
So I love that you bring this up because, one thing I want to talk about before we get to that is that, when I was deep in, like, I'm a scientist, I don't do that woo stuff, there's a pervasive belief that the heart is weak. Oh, you're too this, or you're too simple, or like, there is that pervasive belief. And there is, when you talk about divine joy, I remember writing about, my joy and how it was being received. Many people have told me, oh, you smile too much. You're always smiling. It's so easy for you to be happy. Or if people saw me, they would be like, I'll have what you're having. And that had me thinking, do I have to take something to have joy, to be happy? Like, isn't it our natural birthright? And I noticed that it is actually suspicious. Like, if you're too happy, people are suspicious, like, oh, she must be doing something. And so that really had me thinking that if we believe that it's not okay to smile or be happy, what is that society? Where we have to hide our joy, where it is hard to please us. And that's when we feel important, or, XYZ. What is that? And, when I talk about the 5 wounds of the heart, I feel like these are really at the root of a lot of what we see in the world. And I brought this because it can really help our, change makers, entrepreneurs, to take a look at themselves and see what is happening. And these wounds are the wound of abandonment, the wound of betrayal, the wound of denial, the wound of judgment, and the wound of separation. And these wounds happen, when from the moment we are born and we grow up, right? You were talking about trust a little while back, and this is also something that, I've been thinking about, which is, when was the first time you broke your trust about yourself?
It must happen in childhood, like at a very young age at some level, right?
Yeah.
There's no memory of it. Yeah.
And so we break that trust about ourselves. And then from then on, what happens is that we then just receive everything from the outside world. And so these wounds, I call them the shadow wounds of the heart. And it's important that, we take stock. And abandonment, this is a wound that I had, the wound of abandonment. It was about my mother. I don't have to go through that. However, that was a deep wound. And what happened in my life is that, early on, there was this abandonment, and Abandonment doesn't mean, leaving you on the steps of a church or going to an orphanage, right? It's not only that. But what happened is that that's what I knew. And, as I started, denying my gifts, denying myself, I realized that I had actually abandoned myself. Like that was the end result of that wound. The different ways we abandon ourselves. And the wound of abandonment sits at the base chakra. And usually when you heal that wound, what you gain is self-love. Mm. Mm. And the wound of betrayal, when you have this wound, this is where, the people you love or trust the most, when they betray you, you lose trust. All trust in yourself, trust in others. And it sits at the solar plexus, your place of power, your center of power. And when you heal this wound, you reclaim trust. And when you have trust in yourself, wow, your ability to make decisions that matter to you really skyrocket. Mm. And the third wound that, the shadow of the heart is the wound of denial. And this wound sits at the throat chakra. This is where you're not able to speak your truth. You're not able to sell yourself without, apology or guilt. And when I say sell yourself, I mean show up as yourself, right? Not selling yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you heal this wound, you reclaim your truth. You're able to stand in your authenticity without apology. And the fourth wound, that's really, really big, is the wound of judgment. And that wound sits at the third eye chakra. Judgment comes in so many different ways. And the biggest part is the judgment of ourselves. Like, do you approve of yourself? How do you talk to yourself? When you think that you messed up, how do you treat yourself? Just questions to bring self-awareness. And when you heal this wound of judgment, what you gain is forgiveness. A forgiveness that's able to dissolve into compassion. I usually say that, well, I don't say that it is true. I give myself second chances, third chances, fourth chances, fifth chances. And I forgive myself completely and readily. And this is where I want to bring something that is important, which is, how do you forgive? Do you have conditional forgiveness? I was working with a client the other day, and they were still holding a grudge about something that happened 10 years ago. And they were saying, if that person did this, then I would forgive them. And I told them, this is not forgiveness.
Conditional.
It's conditional. And the self, the path of the heart starts with the self. How do you forgive yourself? If I'm good, then I'm going to forgive yourself, or I have to earn this forgiveness, right? Forgiveness that dissolves into compassion. That's how we need to forgive ourselves. There's always another day, another chance, another occasion to rise. We never stuck. And the last wound is the wound of separation. And this wound sits at the crown chakra. And I had this wound too. When I was telling you my story, I was talking about how I felt so different. I felt like an alien. I would, even in my family, I was always, deep. I was able to have like self-meditation experiences and spiritual things. And I was able to notice, and I would look around me and ask, who are these people? How did I get in this family? Not in a negative way, but really asking these deep questions, even as a child. And this wound, it's actually a wound. It's a wound of separation. And when you release this wound, when you heal it, what happens is you are able to surrender to what is. You're able to see the biggest picture, or, like a bird's eye view of what's going on, without feeling targeted or alone in the world where you have to do everything by yourself. And so when you're able to do this, it will really change your life and bring, I love this, you use the word divine joy and inner peace and purpose and radiance and alignment, authenticity, truth, awareness. So that's why I'm so passionate about this path of the heart. And the heart center is the bridge between the spiritual chakras, or the spiritual world, and the physical world. It's actually a portal when you know how to use it. This was kind of long, but
no, it was so good though, because it's interesting. This is something I've been bringing up with my clients a lot in this last year, which is interesting because I didn't think that was like, I didn't need to go there. But then I was like, well, wait a second, but at the root of what's stopping everybody and what's keeping people small, or keeping them from really living their purpose or growing a business or showing up in the world are these core wounds, like these woundings that are running in the background, that are telling the stories and making, like making yourself not trust yourself. And as entrepreneurs, especially newer entrepreneur, you have to be doing this deep work at the same time you do all the marketing and the traditional like business stuff. Because if you don't really believe in yourself or trust yourself, or you think you're not good enough, or who am I to do this? I'm an imposter. Then it's never going to feel good, and it's not really going to work on the level that it could and should work at. So I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is the path of the entrepreneur, especially, spiritual entrepreneurs. And a lot of people, especially people interested in psychedelics and plant medicines, have probably felt this wound of feeling different their whole lives. I know I felt it. I have a photo of me as a little kid in a group of all these little girls at a camp. And in the photo, it's like, trust me, you can tell who I am, because I'm the only person doing something very different than everyone else. And and so this is a very important message that you're sharing, and it's so good for people to hear that this is the deep work that it takes to really show up and serve in the world and bring your dreams to reality, especially at this great time of change when we need people to be in their healing in their hearts and stay centered and grounded. So Marie, let's hear about what you have coming up, and also your free gift. And then I know we also have this source codes program. Let's hear a little bit about what you are offering.
Yes. So the free gift I have for everyone is an ebook that I really took the time to prepare. It's called Tap into Your Intuition. You know, a lot of the things I hear from my clients and friends, and oh, I don't have intuition, and I don't, and everyone has it, but we lose trust in it. And so I really go through steps and ways that you can tap into it to begin the journey of reclaiming that part of you. So it's beautiful. It has great pictures. So it's not going to be boring, you know, like PDF with nothing. Like, you're going to love it. So I invite everyone to just, be curious, go check it out. And what do I have coming? So I actually received a divine assignment. You know, the source codes is a 13 moon or 12 months program where I'm actually creating a mystery school for entrepreneurs, coaches, and creatives. It's like the initial level. And this started because I really, really want all entrepreneurs to use all their powers, to realize that there's more to them than the neocortex. There's your energy field, your subconscious, your heart, everything else that can really help you show up and have holistic success, be in purpose, aligned, heart-centered, happy, what I call holistic success. And so this happened. I was in Guatemala, facing the deepest lake in the world, and that's when I had this massive vision. And I was like, how is this even possible? I mean, most entrepreneurs are like, I can barely have them, meditate, every day. And this is not about that. This is really bringing the intangible to tangible, making it accessible to people who are not necessarily spiritual, because that's the gap. You either have super spiritual people who are labeled as woo, and the people who resist, and there's nothing in between. So this is what Source Codes is. It's going to be incredible. It starts November 4th. Yeah. So
perfect. Awesome. And yeah, don't miss out on this free gift. If you don't believe that you have intuition, please definitely listen to this. And if you are already in touch with your intuition, I know Marie has tips and probably tools to have you really get grounded and understand how to work with your intuition to benefit you and benefit others and all of humanity, because it is very real. Probably like you, I'm very guided somehow by intuition, by higher self, by source in my business, in my life, in my work, everything. And it's, it's never really failed. So, I mean, there's challenges, but
yes,
it's like, I just keep calling it, follow the golden nuggets. And so definitely download her free gift, check out the source codes. We'll have all the links right here on this webpage. Marie, it was such an honor to hear from you once again. Your work is just so profound, and you're such a beautiful, beautiful, high integrity soul. It was an honor to have you here sharing your unique message and your unique medicine.
Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure to, be with a kindred soul and, like heart, not like mind, like-hearted. I love you, and I love what you do and what you bring to the world. Keep up shining for all of us. Thank you.
Shining. And thank you, everyone. We'll have more interviews on psychedelics, sacred medicines, purpose, and business. We'll see you soon. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're feeling inspired, I'd appreciate it if you showed your love with a review. And check out my YouTube channel where you can find the video version of this podcast. You can also head to bethaweinstein.com to learn more about me and grab my free business growth trainings. Remember, you carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times.